Hi everyone, welcome to this edition of our podcast. I'm Liz and this is Jeff Johnson from the Johnson team at RE/MAX. And as 2022 draws to an end and we look forward to 2023, we just wanted to address some of the most frequent questions we receive and cover them off in this podcast for you all today.
So one of the first questions I think we got asked is, what are our predictions for the year ahead?
Yes,
so
that's been asked a lot. So I would say I would predict that going into 2023, we're going to start off the year pretty much the same pattern. I feel like we're probably going to obviously see one more rate increase at least. Hopefully it won't be a big one.
I think it'll only be like 0.25.
Yeah,
probably
hopefully.
What the word on the street is.
But I think we're definitely in for at least one more anyway. And things will be sort of similar to what they are right now. But I think most importantly, as we approach the spring of 2023, I think you'll start to see the market improving then.
Well, some of my predictions is, and you know, anyone that follows me or has had conversations with me, I believe strongly about the immigration. There's 500,000 immigrants going to come to Canada in the next year, which we desperately need, as you know, as you can see by all the help wanted stuff. Also, you know, most of them coming in the point systems, they're coming with money, and with rents at 24% increase over last year. I don't see that people aren't going to buy. And the thing that most people have to realize when you touch on interest rates is that interest rates are before COVID, before the pandemic, they were at this rate, so it's still like free money. So I think that 2023, I think is going to be phenomenal. I think the first quarter, the media is going to have a field day because they're going to talk about how prices are down because they love that because the astronomical increases. We had $200,000 or $300,000 increases over in 1 month, which is obviously not sustainable.
And it's definitely not a market crash. I mean, it's a market correction, if anything, because it wasn't healthy. It couldn't go on the way it was going on, right? It wasn't good for anybody for that to continue.
And even the word correction is a bit much sometimes too, because prices are still up. The average price last year was $1,095,000. The average price right now is just $1,175,000, I think.
No,
so it's still
very
up
healthy.
Because and again, one of my famous lines is, "There's no more dirt in Toronto." So you have to. You can't build anywhere. They're gonna have to build up, and so if you have a detached house or want a detached house or a townhouse or any kind of land, it's going to be in premium. Okay, another question we get asked is, will there still be a spring market?
Yes, definitely. I think so. I think seasonally we've always had spring markets, and with the exception of COVID, which kind of threw everything up on top of its head, it's always been the same. So I think now that, I don't want to say COVID's over, but we're sort of we've become to normalize COVID into our lives. I think we're back to seasonal markets. So we've seen that even just this year, right? So we saw the summer market was a bit slower this year because, as traditionally, we were able to do more. We were away. We were on cottages and long weekends, that kind of thing. And then the fall market did pick up. This time of year is always a little slower around the holidays because people lose their focus to the holidays. That's been typical. And then I think you'll find that spring market, as is normal, once we start getting even end of February but early sometime into March, weather dependent, you'll start seeing people really get active of wanting to move again or look. So I think we'll definitely have a spring market.
I agree. And the other thing is, it's important to understand what a spring market means. Psychologically, people don't want to put their house up until the snow's kind of gone away. So really, spring market starts mid-February till end of July is really the busiest time of the year. And I think that you're going to find that's going to happen. But still, right now, as we sit here in late December, right, almost Christmas, there's still no listings on the market. So there's still, multiple offers are happening, which everyone thinks, and that's just a supply and demand thing.
Yes, that's always been the case.
It's always been the case. So it's good. And another question we're asked is, will prices stabilize or will they go back up? Again, right now, prices have stabilized probably the last 3 months. So will they go back up? Again, since 1969, average price in Toronto has increased by 7.6%. So I think they are stabilized, and I think that again, with no more dirt, there's only one, there's a supply and demand, there's only one area. Because right now, if 500,000 immigrants come to Toronto or Canada this year, 66% of them, as per Stats Canada, come to GTA. Where are they living? Like, if you just answer that kind of common sense question, where are they living?
Until we fix the inventory problem in our market, prices will always be strong.
100%. And I don't see them. I think they said that we need $1.5 million homes today in Ontario to just be where the demand is right now.
Satisfy the demand,
Okay, we get asked a lot about immigration. I just talked about that. So immigration is going to be 500,000 immigrants are coming to Canada the next, I think, going to be next 4 years. So that's 2 million.
And they all come to, well, not all,
66% come to the GTA. And again, when it was 425,000 refugees, again, according to immigrants that come to Canada, 25,000 of them are refugees. The rest of the 400,000 are all people that are coming on the point system, which is really AKA they're coming with money.
Yes. Another question we've had quite frequently is that the rental market was up 20% towards the end of this year. Do you think that rentals will continue to climb in 2023?
So I think the last stat that I saw, they're up 24% over last year. Why is the rental market continued to climb? Is because people are afraid, for whatever reason, of getting into the real estate market, because they think, prices could come down or interest rates can come down. Right. But the bottom line is, if you're renting somebody, you're paying somebody else's mortgage, so you might as well pay your own mortgage. And with the rental prices that we're seeing right now, like almost $3,000 a month for some 2 bedrooms, that's a crazy amount of money to
good amount of mortgage.
Yeah, that's a serious waste of money. And what we're seeing more and more is, as you and I will be doing eventually, helping parents helping their kids buy something. So they'd rather be paying down their own mortgage than somebody else's mortgage.
Another question that we got asked a lot this year was, how will the changes to who's allowed to buy affect the housing market and buyers?
So again, in 2017, we had the Liberal government under Kathleen Wynne brought in the ban on foreign buyer tax. I think there was only like 2 or 3% in Ontario that even applied to. I know in BC they have a massive amount of foreign buyers, and clients and realtors that I talk to in BC, the foreign buyers, when they had to have the tax or pay the tax, they look at that as cost of doing business, because they're looking to put their money in somewhere safe like Canada. So they leave their money that's safe, and they feel good about that. What they've done now is federally, not provincially, is with Bill C-19, is they've temporarily banned all foreign buyers from buying in Canada for 2 years. Again, I personally don't think that's going to do anything to curb the market. I think they're being too reactive, and it's the bottom line is we just need inventory. We need more houses, affordable houses for people to buy in. So I don't think that's going to do anything. It takes effect January 1st, 2023 for 2 years. Because it does not apply to permanent residents or people that are coming on refugee status, and there may be some exceptions for international students that are being here. Okay, another question we got asked is, what about the vacant home tax, and how will it affect, if anything?
So the vacant home tax is a new tax that the government has put in, because we all need another tax, right?
We love tax in Canada.
Yes, of course. So that is for any homes that are vacant and not occupied for 6 months at a time. So as of now, starting now, I just actually got ours, so I filled it out right away. You just do it online. It's super easy, but you have to fill it out. And it's starting in 2023. Any homes that are not occupied for 6 months or more are going to be subject to a 1% of the assessed value tax. That's going to be how they calculate it, is 1% of the assessed value. So make sure you fill out those. You get them in the mail, and make sure you go on and fill those out, because I was listening to the radio this morning, and they said anybody who doesn't fill it out and submit it, they will just assume that it's vacant and apply the tax. So make sure you fill that in.
And here's one thing where I don't feel the foreign buyer tax is going to do much thing. And again, I'm talking more Ontario than I'm probably talking Canada, because I know in BC that probably will have an effect. The vacant home tax, I think, is actually something that's good. I think there is vacant homes that are around that could be probably used for housing. I don't think it's a tremendous amount, but I think that that's something probably positive that will have some kind of impact.
Okay, another question we have had a lot was, when was the last time the market actually crashed? What was it like? How long did it take to go back up?
Okay, so the market in the 80s was happening when inflation was very similar to what it is now, and interest rates were, I believe, 15.25%. We had a run up that created a kind of a crash. So let me walk you through what happened. In the 80s, what was happening is people, because inflation and everything seemed to be going up like crazy, people were buying houses and flipping them within a month. So they thought, this is great. So what happened is 2 or 3 people owned 3 houses at the same time, and they were playing a shell game. Majority of people were just flipping houses. Happened to one of our friends. They bought a new build and they were doing a flip, but then they got caught when everything came crashing down, as pyramid schemes and stuff do. So in the 80s, probably 89, that's when the market kind of went down substantially, is because it was artificially inflated because people weren't living in these houses. That is not what's going on in the last 23 years, 24 years that we've been in real estate. That's not happening. So we had that. It took from 90 to 95. That is when the market was kind of, you saw homes on the market. I think when we bought our first home was on the market 177 days. You found some time that took 5 years to stabilize because the prices went up so crazy, and then they came down, and then they stabilized. And then it's funny, we weren't in real estate then, but everyone was always talking, well, when's the bottom? The unfortunate part is you'll never know when the bottom is until it starts going up.
Yes, exactly.
Just like we did about 3 months ago, prices started going up. They were going down, and then they started going up. Very little, but they're still going up. We had in 2008, we had a 6-month lull in the market because they had the financial crisis in the States, where again they called them ninja loans. They were no income, no job approved, and there was that movie that was the Big Short, and they had an example of a stripper that owned 5 properties, right? So it was a really good movie. Explained how the States was different than Canada, because you and I could open our own bank and say, Jeff and Liz, here's your bank.
And I would say kudos to Canada, because we've always been criticized for our conservative lending policies, but really.
And the thing is, like I was going back to, is you and I can open the bank in the States, where here in Canada, there's 50 lending institutions that all lead up to 5 major banks. So there's different lending, but it all leads up to a bank that are all federally regulated.
2008 didn't last.
It lasted 6 months. There was an opportunity and some.
It was just a little blip.
It was, because everyone were so entrenched with American news. If you saw when Donald Trump was the president, everyone's talking about everything that, there, because we're so entrenched in U.S. news. So everyone is thinking that. Much more interesting. And so we had that 6-month lull, and then we had another blip in 2017. That's when they brought in the Fair House Distress Test and the foreign buyer tax in Ontario. Again, it was a blip, but it was just, everybody was just buying crazy, because again, there was no supply, demand, the demographics, as you see, the millennials are the number 1 buyers right now. They're not going to stay living with their parents forever, even though, us as parents, I know our kids aren't millennials, but we love them living in our house. But when it's time for them to go, no, it didn't last. Again, it was probably another 6 months. I think, like the last quarter of 2016, the first quarter of 2017.
Okay, so those were our main questions. We are very much looking forward to a great 2023. I think there's going to be some great opportunities for a lot of people in this market. So don't be nervous about it. In particular, it's a great time to upsize, just because if yes, your property that you're selling might have gone down a little bit, but the differential between, assuming you're going up and you're upsizing to a higher price point, the difference has shrunk. So it's a lot of buyers we're finding are getting great opportunities now by using this market to upsize. Also, if you're doing anything at this time, I would strongly advise speaking to a mortgage broker. There's also some great opportunities out there, and they will continue in 2023.
Hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you have any questions, just hit us up. We're always here to help. And remember, there's no silly questions, so don't be afraid to ask them. And I look forward to speaking to you all on the next podcast. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.